All right, Mike, this week's guest, straight out of witness protection, by the way. I can't wait till you guys get to see our guest this week. But here's the thing. There's a lot of players who've come through UCF, Mike. We've seen a lot of guys in our time at UCF. But this is an interesting player for me because he had so many big games for us, but he did a lot of things that didn't always show up in the stat sheet and the box score. Was a true knight both on and off the field, and somebody who was really easy to root for. And we're really happy that he's willing to join us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark-Antony Richards is with us on the Suns tonight. First off, again, you are not in witness protection, correct? You're safe. Everything is good, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm all good, man. I really appreciate you guys having me, giving me this opportunity to just chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, no worries. For those on audio who aren't watching a video, Mark-Antony's in his car right now, so he's undercover. but don't worry about that. Let's have a good chat. So I've never started an interview this way, and I want to start this with you this way. And this is going to be an indelicate question, so I apologize. What do people call you? Do they call you Mark-Antony? Do they call you Mar? Do they call you Mark? Do you have a nickname? What do you want us to call you throughout this interview?
I think you just can call me Mark, but most people just call me by my first name, Mark-Antony.
Okay.
But y'all can just call me Mark, man. Just keep it simple.
So how many million people have pronounced it Mark-Antony over time? Like how often do you hear Mark-Antony versus Mark-Antony?
Honestly, it's gotten to the point where literally my dad even just says Anthony. Like even my little sister, she even says just Mark-Antony. It's more simple. It's simple for everybody. No one has to try to pronounce it correctly. It's just a lot easier, a lot smoother. But literally my whole life.
Is there any symbolism to the Antony? Is there like a family legacy or any reason why Mark-Antony versus Mark-Antony or any other name?
Well, so my dad's like a massive fan of history, the Romans, but I was named after a Roman emperor. So that's kind of where the Mark-Antony came into play. And most people think it's the singer, but there's no correlation.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm glad you cleared that up because I assumed it was the singer as well. So I'm glad.
Yeah, no.
I'm glad you cleared it up. So I like to start every conversation with the people we talk to, just kind of understanding your origin story and how you got to UCF. So you're a kid out of Wellington. I was in West Point Beach, so I know Wellington really well. So you're a kid out of Wellington, and out of high school, you commit to Auburn. So I'm curious, back in those days when you were taking recruiting visits and looking for schools, was UCF on your radar at all out of high school? Was it a school you were even looking at or that was recruiting you at that point?
Yeah, so UCF gave me my first UCF gave me my offer. I believe it was my sophomore year. Yeah, it was my sophomore year. I think it was my fourth offer. But at the time it was for defense, it was for corner. It was for corner, so I didn't really look too much into it. But at some point around my junior year, the kind of tables turned a little bit. Coach Hypo, kind of found more interest in me on the offensive side of the ball. So I took a visit up here with three of my other teammates that were getting recruited by UCF. We took a visit. I really liked it a lot, and right before my senior year, I was planning. I did a top 10 list, my top 10 schools, and UCF was supposed to be in there, but I was talking to my dad and my brother, and they're kind of like, hey, Mark, hey, do this, and I just kind of said, you know what, I just thought too much, into it, and I decided not to put UCF in my top 10. Looking back on it, I wish I would have just did me, and that would have, they would have been in there in a heartbeat, but yeah, it wasn't a school at the time, that I was looking at seriously because of the position, change a year later. Nothing was just for certain, but it's definitely has been something that I really wish I would have just gone through with, and you never know, maybe things could have been different. Maybe I'd end up going here anyway. But yeah, there were a school that kind of I had a lot of interest in, but at the time I just didn't buy into.
What was this is circa 2020 when you were looking for schools coming out of high school, right? Obviously, UCF had the big season in 2017, undefeated national champions, a really good season in 2018. In those days, what was the overall thought of UCF as a high school player? Was it a school you were looking at? Did a lot of players maybe think of it like a safety school? Like if I can't get into this school, I'll go to UCF. What was the view of high school players back when you were coming out of UCF?
Yeah. From what I've always heard, UCF is kind of like that one school that like, how to explain it? Like everyone knew about UCF. Like the hype was there with McKenzie. You know, those guys that those 3 good seasons. But for some reason, like it wasn't like a school at the time, at least, that like a lot of top recruits were like raving about. I'm not even sure why. I mean, they're definitely, in my opinion, like in that big 4. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, I think that would be something I'd probably think about a little bit more. But I think at this point now, I feel like UCF is now what? How to explain it? UCF is just now more so like in the picture when it comes to like 4 and 5-star recruits, especially us guys from Florida. Now like you think of Miami, you think of Florida, you think of UCF in there. Just back then for some reason it was only like Miami, Florida State. Like those were like the offers. Like you got those. It's like at the time you just didn't even look at UCF. You didn't really look at like a USF, but it's definitely beautiful just seeing how the tides have turned, and now UCF is like right up there as far as prestige. And yeah, it's just I really don't know, man. It's just at that time then, it just for some reason it just like wasn't I guess as strong signing as some of those other programs were.
I think it probably had a lot to do with the conference. I mean, we're playing in the American, and then you have the draw of going to an SEC school. Auburn comes knocking. Gus Malzahn's recruiting you. What was his recruitment pitch to you?
So he was one of the he's one of the few coaches that really just offered me at running back. He offered me my sophomore year. He offered me at running back, and it was literally just remain at running back, all the other 3 years. Through my recruiting process, I had schools, wanted me to play linebacker, wanted me to play safety, corner, nickel, receiver, like, but I only had like 4 schools that really just said, hey, like, we want you at running back. Auburn was one of those schools and remained consistent. So his recruiting pitch was, fairly simple. Just, hey, we're going to get you the ball in space. We're going to use you as slot receiver sometimes. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And, at the time, I just felt like that was exactly what would allow me to, elevate my game and thrive, and where I could ultimately find success. So his recruiting pitch was fairly simple.
And how much of a factor did him leaving play in your decision to transfer? And then him coming to UCF, was it automatic that you were just going to follow him? Or was he one of your a phone call like right after he got the job? Did he call you right away?
So like my decision to leave Auburn was really just because I just felt like I just needed a fresh start. I had like the leg injury, and that really that was a brutal time for me, just trying to bounce back. There's some things within my game that I felt like I needed to. There's some things within my game that I needed to adjust in order to find comfortability in playing at a high level. But I just felt like the season coming back, I just felt like I just mentally needed just to go somewhere else and just get a fresh start. I just felt like my mental health was really struggling, through that 2020 season, and that was ultimately why I entered the transfer portal. At the time, like I wasn't aware that coach was actually gonna be fired. I had no idea. So I entered the transfer portal, and then I believe the same day, I saw that on Bleach Report. But about a week later, because I took like a whole week off completely from everything. Then I started kind of looking to other schools. I had some schools reaching out, and Coach Heupel at the time, he would actually reach out to me again, and this time he was like, "Hey, we want you at running back, literally just running back. This is what it's going to look like." We met on a Zoom call with the offensive coordinator and the other position coaches within the offense, and they had a whole plan for me. But ultimately, I decided to go elsewhere, and then ultimately I decided to go elsewhere, and about 2 weeks later, I found out he goes to Tennessee. So the school that I was initially, planning on going to, there was like this thing with I can't really explain it. It was weird, but long story short, I was gonna have to sit out a whole season. Well, I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, I don't want to sit out a whole season. I don't want a blue shirt, whatever you call it. So I just decommitted, and then at that point, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Like, there's something about, I've always been a big fan of UCF. Something just, something's telling me, I just need to follow my gut. So ultimately, I was, talking to Dylan Gabriel, who was here at the time, and I was like, hey, bro, like, whoever your head coach is, like, I'm coming, bro. Like, I'm not making that same mistake again. I know I want to be in the state of Florida. I know that's my heart is. This is literally a school I feel like I can thrive at. Like, I want to come ball with you guys. Maybe a couple of days later, maybe a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, maybe I'm dragging it, but I find out, that Coach Malzahn was going to get the job. But I missed the part through that whole process. Coach Malzahn, him and I were still talking, but this wasn't about, him taking the job at UCF. It was just in general. Because I've known him since I was literally 13 years old. So I knew him for a long time. So I knew him since I was 13. So we're just like, he would check in on me, and we were just talking, just about asking me, what schools I'm looking at. Am I okay in the portal and stuff? So, but he didn't mention anything about UCF. So when I saw that he got the job, I was just as shocked as everybody. So, at that point, like, he knew my interest in UCF. He understood, like, that Coach Heupel left, and I was kind of like, oh, snap. Like, so it was like a perfect, situation where I had interest and he got the job, and it happened.
What are those first couple of days on campus like, Mark-Antony? When you get there and you're the new guy again, it sounds like you maybe know some players, right, from probably some high school and some connections. But obviously Gus is new, staff is new. What are those first couple of days like as the new guy again, kind of trying to fit into in a situation? And at that point, UCF was really unique, right, because they didn't have a head coach for a while. Randy Shannon was kind of the interim coach. Then Gus comes in, right? So what was that situation like as you kind of walked into UCF for the first time as an official night?
Honestly, I felt more comfortable, my first couple of days at UCF than I did at Auburn, solely because like UCF is full of guys literally just from Florida, and we all from Florida, we all know each other. Like I knew like Tatum Bethune, I knew Newt. I can think of like a list of names of guys that I already knew from high school days. So for me, it just felt like I belonged there from the jump. Like I didn't feel out of place. I understood the language, the lingo. Like it literally just felt like I was back in high school again with the same, cats that I grew up balling with. That's kind of what it felt like. That kind of relationship for me.
That first year under Gus, I mean, again, in the media, right, and the fans, right, it felt like obviously there were a few different guys who came over from Auburn that sort of came with Gus, right? Big Cat, obviously, is somebody you think about. Marcus Domio, somebody you think about, right? Who came over from Auburn. Was there a sense of like, for the quote unquote Auburn guys that came with Gus, was there any friction in the locker room, like, oh, you're an Auburn guy, or were guys coming to you like, hey, how do I deal with this Gus guy? Like, what does this mean? What does dadgummit mean? Like, were there guys coming to you asking you for like advice on sort of playing for and playing under Gus?
Yeah, and there are definitely guys, that asked me kind of like what to expect, just asking for like pointers, because Coach Malzahn is like a very specific. How to explain it? Like, he's like a very detail-oriented coach, which is a great thing and not a bad thing at all by no means. But there's certain things like you can't do. There's certain things you have to do. There's certain everything's that has to be done in order to like find success. And luckily for me, I had almost had one full season under him to know what those things look like. So yeah. So yeah, there are definitely guys, that ask questions, just wanted to see what some things look like. But was there any friction? Not necessarily. I do think like the term, the phrase Auburn guys, I do think that was probably not like liked upon other UCF, some of the guys, other guys that been at UCF all that time. But no, there's really no tension. There's no friction at all for the most part. Like no one ever, said that to any of the other guys. But there's great relationships all throughout the locker room. No fights, no crazy anything. Just all love and a brotherhood, truthfully.
We had a pretty good team coming into that year. You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. Some pretty high expectations coming into that year. What were your expectations coming over from the SEC? Guys like you and Big Cat, were you thinking, we're going to come into the American and we're going to dominate over here?
I'm always be honest. So I'll be honest with you guys. So coming in, the expectations were we're going to win this whole thing. Because, like, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, that 2021 team, that was the best roster in the whole conference. Like, no questions asked. The whole best roster in the conference. So, just the expectation was just to win the whole entire thing. And I felt confident that we do just that. But coming from the SEC, like, obviously the SEC is its own, like, you understand, like, the level of competition. But that played no factor in, like, why, like, we started believing, okay, like, we're going to come here and win this. That didn't play a factor, it just simply comes off of, the guys we had on the team, like the Jalen Robinsons, the Ryan O'Keefes, the Bowsers, the DGs, Brennan Johnsons, Big Cats. Like, I can, Kalea David. Like, it was just so many talented players as to why, that was the standard. Unfortunately, we didn't, live up to that. But I think, I think that's the best way to put it. That was just simply what we believed and we're confident that we'd achieve.
Well, you just ran through a list of names, impressive list. So what is the big difference between the SEC and the American? Is it just the depth of the teams? Or, I mean, I think those guys you mentioned are just as talented as any of those other teams in the SEC.
No, of course, absolutely. I think that's such a hard question because it can just go so many ways. But I think, because like the SEC is what I feel like is like the closest. This is like the closest like you'd get to like the NFL in terms of like talent level just across the board. But I think probably the biggest difference is like just the depth. Of course, players are bigger. You have like DNs running 4.4s. You have linebackers about 6'5". You got Will Anderson. You got to go against on the daily. Literally on the daily in practice and stuff. Like, I think that's probably the biggest difference. It's just probably the size of the guys. Not so much like talent. Because I mean, if you're playing Division I football, man, like you're talented. I can comfortably say it's probably depth and also, of course, size. Like you can have like a third string corner sprout into being a first round pick, like Roger McCreary, who at one point was I think a fourth string. Like it's that crazy, So that's probably the biggest difference.
You mentioned obviously you were injured for some time at Auburn. How healthy were you coming into that 2021 season? How ready were you for training camp? How healthy were you, or what did you have to do to kind of get yourself ready for that 2021 season?
Yeah, so I played the 2020 season at Auburn on a torn meniscus, but I didn't find that out until when I got to UCF. So I had the surgery. I missed about a month and a half that summer, and then we went straight into fall camp. There's like COVID and stuff, so missed a bit of that. And then first game came, and I had like maybe a week and a half of practice under my belt. But to answer your question, like probably the healthiest I've been since I got to college, if I'm being honest. The knee surgery, that summer, like it wasn't bad at all. Only only like 5 weeks out. Only 5 weeks out. But before I faced 13 months, so 5 weeks, like that was nothing. But that was probably the healthiest I had been at the time, in college. But unfortunately, like I wish, I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff. I could have hit fall camp running, got the UCF running, but there's always bumps in the road, so things always play out that way.
Well, obviously, you mentioned you were feeling healthy, but as a team that year, especially early in the season, the injury bug hit UCF hard. Dylan Gabriel goes out, obviously misses the rest of the season. Isaiah Bowser is down for a while. Kalia Davis with a knee injury. What was that like? Have you seen a rash of injuries? Like, it seemed like the Louisville game, that Friday night Louisville. We talked to players in that who played in that game and said you was basically like playing in a parking lot. That's how tough the turf was that night. Have you ever seen anything like that where just like guy after guy is getting carted off with injuries in a game like the Louisville game?
Honestly, no. Like that was the first time I really experienced something like that. Like from the time we got there, like it literally felt like you're walking on the road, man. You know, it just didn't feel comfortable. I'm sure, like, you know, those players are probably used to it, or, you know, I'm sure, you know, they're probably used to that. We're not, obviously. But just the whole game, like, we had some injuries, you know, guys fall down, and it was just brutal, man. It was brutal, and I think seeing DG, like, you know, go out the way he did on like the last couple of plays.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was probably, you know, one of the more like gut-wrenching moments. But of course, you know, we're able to bounce back, you know, with that injury, with Mikey Keene having the success he did at a young age. But that was a tough year. Honestly, like I haven't really reflected on that in a while. Now I'm thinking about it like, dang. Oh my God. Wow. It's like, you know, you don't even realize like just how much actually happened that year.
How tough is that as a player, right? Because obviously you said these are your brothers, these are your teammates, right? Yeah. But you want to play, right? But you don't want anybody hurt. So like, how tough is it like when you see somebody like Bowser go down and you're like, oh shoot, my number's up. Like, but yeah, I don't want my brother, you know, Zay to be down. How tough is it as a player to like root for your teammates, but then also realize like that's your opportunity sometimes?
I can speak for myself. Well, I can speak for the whole running back room. Like that was hard for us all. You just seeing, you know, seeing a brother go down, you know, especially, you know, with like at the time, what was like an unknown injury, you know, all you see him is like limping on the sideline. Of course, you know, he fought back, got back in the game, you know, but it just had to ultimately come out and sit down. But that allowed a guy like Johnny Richardson, Trillian Coles, you know, step in and make some good plays. But, you know, after the game, it all hits you, man. And it's hard. It's never, I mean, as you can imagine, like it's never easy seeing anybody get hurt, you know, but I think when you understand, you know, a person's story, you see them get hurt like he did, it's, you know, it's different. You know, it's different, especially seeing this, you know, the success and the trajectory that I felt like he was on at the beginning of the year. You know, having the injury, he came back to Tulane game. It just, you know, it took him a while to get healthy again. And I think he was in his best form when we played against Florida in that bowl game. But yeah, it's always hard seeing guys you go to war with, you know, go down. It's just it never really does well, you know, for a team, you know, but that's what makes teams different. And, you know, I felt like that team was different because you bounced back from all those injuries.
Two back-to-back tough losses, the Louisville game that we just talked about, and then at Navy, Mikey Keene makes his first start. We can't pull that one out.
Yeah.
Who were the guys in the locker room that kind of, because after that, you guys got things straightened out a little bit. So who were the guys in there that kind of turned things around and said, hey, the season's not over. Let's straighten it up?
Brandon Johnson. Yeah, Brandon. If I remember it correctly, I'm pretty sure he like went off. Yeah, like him, Josh Seliscar, who's somebody else that like, and Devon Wilson. Like those three guys, from what I remember, like they went off because it's just not acceptable. You know, just not acceptable. It's like it's not the standard. Just looking at the, you know, the success that the 2017 team had, the 2018 team had, in the 2019 team as well. It's like, man, this is a UCF football, you know, and you know, just know, you know, after that game, that was kind of like a pivotal turning point for us all.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Johnson was a guy on the field. I think he scored touchdowns, seemed like every week.
Yeah, he's a quiet guy. He's a quiet guy, but I kid you not, man, it's the quiet ones that honestly lead the best sometimes.
Right, and then, like I said, we turned it around. So some big wins down the stretch: East Carolina and South Florida, and those two games, you played a big role in those games.
Yes, sir.
So the East Carolina one, low scoring, but battle all the way down to the end. Yeah, we have a big drive at the end of the game. You have a big play. What do you remember about that night?
I remember getting in the game and the first play, just a slide and dive. And the ball, well, I was really supposed to take the ball, you know, up the A gap. But just like any running back, when you have the ball in your hand, sometimes you just go by instincts, and shoot, my instincts were like bounce it to the C gap, D gap, just hit it outside, and And luckily it worked, and made it really. I feel like that was made like a momentum shifting play, that kind of got the crowd roaring and getting into it. But I remember making that first run. That's my first run, and I kind of felt like a juice. I felt a good rhythm, and Coach Harris, kind of gave me a nod. I was like, hey, stay ready. Like, I was nice, stay ready. And throughout the rest of the game, they gave me some more opportunities. And I felt like ultimately, I made the most of it. And now it's a memory, that I'll forever have. And a first touchdown, like, I truly will never forget at all.
And then the South Florida game, which was, they were not good. They haven't been good for a few years. And we've been like wanting to blow these guys out. And it seemed like they always gave us a tough battle for some reason. And that game came down to the very end. I mean, we scored late, and then they had the chance to beat us, and the clock runs out. Tell me about that craziness, and what was the celebration like after that
one? Just reflecting on it, we had a tough time, just pushing the ball downfield. But ultimately, we just ended up just kind of relying on the running game that, eventually opened up, certain shots, being called and certain big plays, happening. But shoot, give credit, to Johnny Richardson, man. He was running that ball. We getting the ball in space. He made the most happen. I know O'Keefe really stepped up, made some great plays. But shoot, freshman at quarterback like Aquille, made some clutch plays, and ultimately, we just found a way just to make things work, and we got the win with it. But I think for me, man, something I just never understood was how Timmy McClain was making some of the plays he was making that game. I really don't know still. He has his thing, he just runs around and somehow he just slips away and just, makes some great plays. But they had a few talented players on that team that I feel like really just made life hell sometimes. They had the Jimmy Horn guy, Xavier Weaver, Timmy, of course. Those guys are making big plays, throughout the whole game, but we got it done. And the celebration afterwards was just hilarious. Like, guys were in there freaking throwing up water bottles and stuff, man. Walls were getting wet and stuff. But yeah, definitely, y'all taking me down memory lane right now. Definitely some, really memorable moments, in my time here at UCF.
I want to go back to that East Carolina game. I was looking up your stats. You only had 6 carries. Mike and I were at that game, but our memory is maybe a little foggy based on the amount of fun we had that day. It felt like you only came in late in that last drive. Was that by design, or was it just like was your turn? Were you lobbying Coach Harris let me in? It seems like all of a sudden out of nowhere you were in the game. Boom, screen pass, boom, run, boom, touchdown. It was almost like, where's this guy been the entire game? Why weren't we using him all game long? Was that kind of a strategy, or was there a reason why you didn't get in until later in that game?
So we had a certain package. Yes, we had a certain package where I knew it was my play. I know I'd go in, but that wasn't called until, I can't tell you the quarter. I don't remember. I think maybe second quarter, maybe late first. I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't really by design. It just kind of just happened. Like Coach Harris said, Mark, you up, and I went out there for my play, and then I had the big run, and came back to the sideline. That's kind of when he gave me the nod. Okay, I think you're ready, and I feel like he really lobbied, for me to, get more opportunities throughout the rest of the game that ultimately, led to a touchdown. But no, to be quite honest, no, it wasn't by design. It just kind of just came at the right time for me. I think it just came at the right time. I felt like, there was a change of pace needed. And I felt, and just at the time, I was the right back for that, especially, down that fourth quarter stretch, even including the fourth down conversion. Normally Isaiah Bowser would be in the game, but of course, he went down with the injury. The next back was me to go out there in that moment. And, I felt poised and we executed. And from there, it just kind of, took off for me.
Yeah, Mike mentioned earlier. I mean, that was a a slugfest of a game, right? I mean, that was you were the spark. I don't know that we win that game without you kind of coming in and sparking us in that last drive. But did you think that would lead to sort of more carries throughout the season? Looking at your stats, next week you had 1 carry, next week you had 1 carry, next week you had 3 carries. Did you think that maybe that would springboard you to maybe get a bigger piece of the offense? I know there was a ton of talented guys. You obviously mentioned Bowser, you mentioned Johnny. People forget about Trillian Coles and how good a runner he is, even though he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, how strong and powerful a runner he was. Did you think maybe that would get you more opportunities to get carries as the season went on?
I can say, like, I was definitely hopeful. But, I understand, how college football, works. I understand there's things, that I grew to understand. And I just knew that game, I had those, 6 opportunities to make something happen. And I tried my best to make such. But going forward, I was definitely, hoping and just still working to earn, more playing time and more opportunities. But I just think just like the whole entire year, I feel like, there's some things I just understood, and I tried my best to maximize each and every single opportunity that I had coming my way. But I didn't even know, after that game at 1 carry, I forgot about all that. I don't.
On the bright side, that 1 carry was a touchdodown at Cincinnati. So you had 1 carry for 2 yards and a touchdown. So on the bright side, it was helpful, right? it was a good carry. Then later in the season, you went over 100 yards for the first time at SMU. I know we got blown out in that game, right? That game was obviously out of hand later on, but your first 100-yard rushing game on only 8 carries, by the way, so you averaged about 13 yards a carry. What do you remember about that first game where you break over 100 yards? I know it comes at a loss. How tough is that to be like, hey, I played really well, I put some good film out there, but obviously the team didn't have a great performance that day?
Yeah. I think, like, personally, like, going over 100 yards, that was the first time since high school. So I think from a confidence standpoint, that was massive for me. Just, it was like a reminder for myself that, I still got it, regardless of how my leg, the state of my leg, like I still had it. But, put aside, personal satisfaction, I think just overall, like, to me, it didn't really matter too much because we lost, especially the way we lost. I do think there's some positives out of that entire game. Of course, it was a blowout, but I think that was just a chance for us just to go back to the film room and really just reflect on ourselves and figure out what we're good at, what we need to fix. And I believe we did just that. But personally, it was a massive moment. Just for me actually seeing my name, seeing it, that 1-0-0 next to it felt a little fake for a while because just those first 2 years were just so chaotic. But I don't know if I answered your question. I apologize.
No, you did. No, but don't shortchange it, by the way. It was 104, not 100. So you got 104 in that game. Don't forget those 4 yards.
I appreciate you guys, man.
So that year, though it didn't turn out the way we thought it would, we still have a big chance at the end. We play Florida. Now, you're a Florida guy. We're Florida guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably know guys on that team. I talk trash to my cousins that are Florida fans. They try to downplay it. Oh, it's the Gasparilla Bowl. But when you're talking to those guys on Florida, how much trash talking is going into that game? And how seriously do you know they're taking it?
That game, I don't think I ever heard so many curse words in my life. I'm talking about, like, you even had Daniel Barsky talking trash. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you know it's real. Like, but no, of course, there's always going to be, like, rumors or such. Oh, like, we weren't locked in, wherever the case is. But what I know is we were locked in, and we had every bit of motivation to go out there and prove something. And we did just that. But I know a couple of guys on the team over there. I knew a couple of guys on the team over there, but I'm gonna just kind of keep some things to myself. But we won. I believe the score was 29 to, what was it? 17? 13? Yeah. We could have put up a couple more touchdowns, but we had we had some stuff up our sleeve that we kept. But it was a hell of a game. That was honestly one of my favorite games of my college career. Like just the atmosphere. Yeah, it's nothing like putting your foot down, on an in-state rival. It's nothing like it.
Yeah, that was a great night.
Yeah.
So that first season, it was kind of interesting because we had a TV show based on the team. The Our Time show. Did you ever even notice the cameras around in practice following you guys during the game? Was any kind of distraction? People talking about it? Like if they had a feature on them where they're all excited to do it? What was the talk about that show?
Like we were aware, we were like told, the camera's gonna be here, there, but honestly, like they did a good job of not really being like all in our faces. Like I personally don't remember seeing the camera one time, probably because like I have other things to worry about than a camera, but it really wasn't a distraction. There are some guys, that are kind of more of the focal points. So I think that'll probably be more so like a question that you might have to ask like some of those guys. Not that they're distracted by it, but like kind of their take on it. But at least from my perspective, like no one really paid too much into it. It really played like in nobody's mind. It wasn't like a factor of really attend. It really wasn't really much of a factor. But it's definitely cool. It was honestly like a great experience just seeing yourself on TV and you got your friends seeing, videos of you in the background and stuff like that. But I've only seen one episode of that show, so I might have to find a way to go back and watch more of it. But I heard it was awesome. I heard people thought it was pretty cool, took it well, and I know we did as well.
So you guys didn't have like parties every Thursday night when it came out and everybody sat around and watched it?
You would think, but no, not really, man. Like no one really like. I think part of the reason being because I think it was on ESPN Plus.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a big reason why like no one really like was talking about it too much and streaming it. That would have been awesome though. We all got the chance to sit back and watch the episode for once, but nah. I think
you don't need to share that password, Mario. That's what you need. You need someone to share that login.
Yeah, we should. Now I think about it, and that'd be a hell of an idea. Now I think about it.
So going into 2022, I recall seeing, and again, keep me honest on this. Obviously, you know better than I recall seeing you had a post on, I think it was Instagram, that you had some surgery in the off season. What was your health status kind of I think it was shoulder, if I remember correctly. What was your health status kind of leading into that 2022 season?
Yeah, so I think it dates back to 2020. I suffered I don't want to say the wrong diagnosis, but I suffered a pretty bad injury in my shoulder sometime in that year. But I didn't find out about it until summer of I didn't find out about it until like summer of 2022. That's when I found out about it. I ultimately ended up having surgery at the end of that 2022 season. That's when I ended up having surgery. But through the 2021 season and the whole entire 22 season, I was dealing with, my shoulders slipping here, there, slipping out. But then I just decided I just wanted to have surgery, at the end of the season. So my status, I was just banged up, man. Just to be honest with you. I was banged up, man. But this past season, I was the healthiest. I was the healthiest, period.
I mean, I've been injured a bunch, like weekend warrior type stuff. I've never played football. That's gonna hurt. Yes, like your shoulder popping out of socket throughout games. Like at no point were you like, hey, like this is a problem, or was it just like a competitor's mentality where you didn't care, you just want to strap it up and keep kind of going out there and playing every week?
Yeah. So it never like fully popped out of socket. It was just like slipping a lot. It was slipping a lot and it hurts so bad. It kind of feels like your arm like went numb. That's literally how I was describing it. But before like I found out, before I officially found out, I was just on the impression that like it's probably like a muscle strain maybe, or I don't know what I thought, but it's like when you're in those pads and like you literally become like a gladiator. Like there's certain things that don't bother you. Your pain tolerance is just different. To be quite honest, I really don't know. Yeah, I really don't know like how I managed to go all that time without, fixing it. I'm honestly not sure.
But you played, according to the stats, you played most of that 2022 season on special teams. So you were still out there contributing, but obviously weren't getting running back touches. Was that by design to kind of keep you safe or kind of keep you healthy, or was that something that obviously John Rice Plumlee's there now, right? So there's a different running attack. Was that by design or to kind of keep you healthy?
Yes, sir. So that was by design. Just it was the best way for me to stay healthy, but also for me to maximize, what I was capable of doing. In that season, and special teams was that. It was the best way for me to, get out there in the game, make an impact. I think it was the smartest thing that could have been done.
Do you like playing special teams? Like, is that fun? Like going down and like blowing a guy up potentially or trying to pop a fumble? Was that fun?
Yeah. You have to be like, you have to have a different type of mentality to just want to go out there on special teams and just, lay into somebody. but me personally, yeah, like I love it, man. It's fun. It's like, it's literally just one play. You go out there and you give it your all and you try to mutt the other guy. But I never minded it. Like I never mind, doing dirty work, especially if it helps, a team win, especially if it gives you more opportunities out there in the field. And for me, that was just another chance for me to put things on film with hopes of, one day get into the next level.
A couple of questions about that 2022 season. I know the fans' perspective, but we have two quarterbacks. You got Mikey Keene coming off his freshman year who just beat the Gators and did some nice things as a freshman. And then you got John Rice Plumlee coming in, transfer from Ole Miss. You see the talent he has. And the fans debating all year who should be starting. You saw these guys in practice every day. You saw them in fall camp. Were you surprised that Plumlee won the job? Did you think he earned the job? Would you have stuck with him the whole year?
I'll be very honest. Like literally both of them performed really well throughout all the fall camp. With John, like there's only one. I think there's only one scrimmage where he was able to run. And then maybe that was spring. I can't remember. But there was one scrimmage where he was like able to run and he like broke for like an 80-yard touchdown. But for the most part, him and Mikey, they're in gray jerseys, so they're like non-contact. But even with that, like I can 100% admit that like it was a really close battle. Like for me, like I'm focused on the backs and stuff. Not really paying attention too much to who has the upper hand at this moment. But no, I mean, I think the coaches, just made the best decision they felt. But I'm sure, the coaches made what they felt was the best decision. But of course, like the fans love Mikey. Even we love Mikey. Like Mikey's the boy. Mikey's the boy, man. But, the Memphis game and then in the middle of the Navy game, he came in, added a spark. But I think the coaches made what they felt like was the best decision for the team, for us to have success. But that's no diss to Mikey at all. Like I'm gonna say this right now, Mikey's a baller, and he's gonna continue to show that at Fresno State. Fresno, that's where he's at. I'm sorry, I know I said Fresno State. Fresno. I always get that.
Now, the end of the year, that's my other question, because we get to the conference championship game. And Mikey decides not to play in it. Like he wants to save his red shirt. He wants to have that extra year of eligibility. But the whole team, to me, you're working towards one goal, and that's to win a championship. And then he decides not to play in it. Is there any talk in the locker room about, hey, what is this guy doing? Or everybody kind of understood his situation?
No, everybody understood his situation. From what we know, like he wanted to play. You know what I mean? Like there's I can't explain it. Like I can't really not explain it. Like from what I know, like he wanted to play, but of course, like you got to take care of yourself. I'm gonna put it like that. So like no, there's no tension, no animosity, no friction at all. Like that's the boy. He literally left UCF being loved by every single person that walked within that locker room and that walked within those offices. So, you know, him like ultimately saying like, hey, I can't play. Like, bro, like we get it. Like any other day of the week, like, bro, he's playing. You know, but like it's the red shirt. That's a whole another year in this belt that he might need. You know, someone's career you're playing with. You know, so like there's no friction at all.
Well, Mike talked about the Cows game the year before. The Cows game of 2022 was even crazier than 2021. We're a big, you know, we're all celebrating, we're dancing in the aisles of the stadium, and all of a sudden the Cows come back out of nowhere. What was your reaction as you're on the sideline, kind of seeing the momentum change? Like, what was that like? I mean, was there tension? Did it go from like, hey, we got this, to like, oh no, something's going on here? And then out of nowhere, Alec Holler makes a catch that I still don't know how he makes that catch. Like, what was that sequence of events like, from the highest to highs to the, oh my goodness, what's happening, to like, can't believe Alec Holler just did that?
Yeah, honestly, I was sick. I was sick. I mean, because we got up early. We got up early, and I believe we're at 24-7. And then just gradually, like, they just started, you know, just catching rhythm and started calling their right plays, and yeah, it came back in the game. But it was like I see why, you know, we've earned the name the Cardiac Knights. Like it was literally like just a roller coaster of emotions.
All right, so I assume you were on the sidelines. Did you, real time, honest to goodness, like hand to heart, did you think Alec Holler caught that and was in bounds?
I'm gonna be honest. I gotta be honest. I'm trying to like remember my thoughts and stuff. So all right, this is what I felt. So I didn't think he had possession when he hit the floor. Just like from the sideline, before I saw before I saw the big screen, like, you know, you just from the angle I saw it, I was like, oh, there's no way like he like reeled that in. Like, better yet, he got a foot in. Like I wasn't sure. But like when I saw it on the big screen, I was like, "Yo, this dude is official." But yeah, like right away once we saw the clip, yeah, you just knew he had it in. Like he had it, caught it, tucked it, foot in, smooth touchdown. You know, and just the rest is history. But I remember like when the play first happened, like I looked right at Dan McCullen, and I'm like, "Bro," and he's like, "Yo," and we're like, "Bro, I don't know if he like got it in, bro," because it was such like just perfectly extended. You know what I mean? Like that was some Randy Moss stuff. But yeah, somehow he caught it, man. I don't think a lot of guys make that catch as tough as it was. And yeah, it's literally that's literally like a staple now. I think that's gonna be a play that's gonna be replayed for years.
Well, you've seen a lot of football. Your brother's a great wide receiver. You've seen a lot of football live. Have you ever seen the catch better than that live? So in a game that you've been at or playing, and is that the best catch you've ever seen live?
Oh damn. At this moment, I say yeah. That's probably the best catch I've seen at this moment. Yeah, I'm sure probably in the next hour I'll probably think of.
I'm sure your brother's gonna text you afterwards, like, "Hey man, what about that time in junior high?" Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, that was a sick catch, man. Like I wish I could see it again.
Well, this year we had some crazy games too. A lot of close games. Obviously, we're in the Big 12 now. I don't even want to bring up the Baylor game. Should I bring up the Baylor game? Let's not bring up the Baylor game.
I just did, but okay.
I don't want to talk about the Baylor game. But there were other close games this year too. Like Texas Tech was another game that we kind of let slip away. You know, what were the differences? Why couldn't we just finish off games, you think, this year?
That's a good question. You know, honestly, I really do. I don't know the answer to that question, if I'm being honest. I think it just comes just like learning experiences.
Was the Big 12 that much tougher than you all thought? I mean, obviously we're going to a new conference, but was it that much harder? Was it like, oh my goodness, this is a lot different than we thought it was going to be?
No, I don't think it was like drastically harder. I mean, of course, every single week you're playing against like quality opponents. Like, I think if you look at, just the Big 12 as a whole, like, from last year and the 5 years before that, like, you got, unranked Big 12 teams beating ranked Big 12 teams. Like, truly anything can happen every week. I mean, it's just always up in the air. But I don't think for us, it wasn't necessarily that, man, like their talent's just a lot better. I think just the honest truth is we just, at times, we just had a hard time with finishing games and closing games. Maybe whereas, in the AAC, maybe, like we get away with that. Maybe we find a way where we can just close it later on. But I think maybe at some point, maybe they catch up with us. Like, I'm not saying that's 100% factual. I'm not saying that's 100% true, but that's just kind of like my observation at this moment. Now that I'm kind of like, just thinking back. But those are definitely two games that we literally had, especially the Baylor game. Like we had that in the bag, but I just think, like you kind of get on a cold streak and you just remain there.
Yeah, the couple close ones that we did pull out, now that you mention it, were against Boise State and Cincinnati, who I still considered, they're a new Big 12 team too, but it's on the same level as us. But the Boise State game, on the road, that's a tough one. Field goal to end it. How cool was that? Was that one of the best experiences you had here?
No. So no, not at all. No, I'm gonna tell you why. So it was maybe two drives before we eventually closed the game out. We sent an all out to go block, and we didn't block the punt, but my hand was like that close from it. But we got a flag, and the flag was on me. So they threw a flag on me because they said that I was over the center. And I remember I went to the sideline, and like Coach Blackman was like, "What?" And I was like, "Coach, like I don't think and we go the next day, we're looking at the film. Actually, I kid you not, that same night, Coach Blackman is looking at film, and he's like, "Mark, man, I'm sorry, man." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "You were not over that center." And but that was a penalty that actually kind of that could have possibly blew the game for us. So for me, like my heart was kind of like racing because I'm like, dang, like I think they just got a first down. Like I gotta hope, the defense comes up with a stop. Like I had hope for something. Luckily, we got a stop, and eventually, like two drives later, we closed the game. But for me, man, that was one of the more scary moments of my time here. It's the worst thing I think any football player can experience is you being the reason your team lost the game. Like I've been on the other end, where I've helped win games, but bro, I was gonna be damned if I was gonna be the reason we lost one. For me, that was one of the more traumatic experiences. But
so when the boomer hits the kick, are you one of the first ones to run over and give him a hug because like at the time he saved you?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. We got in the locker room, man. I started dancing, man. I was the happiest guy there. because like not many guys knew like I got the penalty. Like nobody really knew. But I knew, me and Coach Blackman knew, but man, it worked out in my favor. I was just glad, we put off the win.
All right, Mark, settle another fan debate here. We're at Oklahoma. Furious comeback. Javon catches a great touchdown pass, and we decide to go for two. And the play that's called is a sort of a wide receiver option throw for Xavier Townsend. Obviously, a lot of people at that point are like, hey, by the way, don't know if you know this, but RJ Harvey's in the backfield. You can just hand the ball to him. He can bulldoze his way. And obviously JRP, has proven time and time again, he can get in the end zone. A lot of folks were critical of that play call. Is that a play that you all had practiced? Did it work when you all practiced it? Were you surprised to have it called in that moment with the game on the line, putting the ball in the hands of a receiver to throw versus maybe your quarterback?
Man, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, man.
No one's listening. You're good.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Truthfully, like I really do think that was a good play call. It was something we ran multiple weeks against our own defense, and literally each time it worked. because like each time like you like slightly disguise it different and just it works. It's a great play call, and at the time like I personally felt like it was a good play call. It's not what the other team's gonna expect. Of course, we motioned the guy, he rounded it and he threw the ball and of course he got tackled. But I think if you just look back at the play one more time, it was before the ball even was snapped. Like Oklahoma's already doing signals and stuff, which indicates to you that they know exactly what you're running. So it's just a case of like, it was a case of where we ran a play and like the team already knew it. Like I don't really know how to explain that in other depths, but it was just a case of literally where like they just went straight to the guy that was motion, like they already knew it was coming. So in actuality, like it was a good play call. It was a good play call. It's just the other team just knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened.
What was the reaction like in the locker room? Obviously, you fight so bad. I mean, Oklahoma on the road. Also, was there any extra juice? I mean, you mentioned this earlier. I think most people know this, but the quarterback for Oklahoma that day was one Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, you and a bunch of other guys had played with him. Was there any extra juice going up against your former quarterback, who obviously decides to leave UCF and go on other places? Any a little extra motivation to maybe get back a little bit at DG?
Nah, not really. No extra motivation. Nah, not really any extra added motivation. I think just playing against Oklahoma in general was the whole entire motivation. I mean, I think that was the first time UCF ever played against them. So that was, all the motivation we needed right there. All the credits to DG. Shout out to him. But just going to that game, you playing against, I think they're ranked number 4 at that time, 3 or 4. I think 6.
6. Yep.
Yeah. So the ranked 6. Yeah, that was all the motivation we needed. So going out there, being on that national stage, like you'll never get exposed. And I mean, like, there's no way. But the whole week in preparation, really the whole 2 weeks, we had quality preparation, and Coach Malzahn was preaching the whole entire time. He was saying, look, like, get them to the fourth quarter and like they're gonna fold. Get them to the fourth quarter, like we will come out victorious. And we did just that. No mistakes were really made in the first 3 quarters. Well, I'm sure there's some minor mistakes that led to probably touchdowns and such, but like we truly played sound football in those first 3 quarters that got us to the fourth quarter like we all envisioned. But it's just tough getting that close and losing a game in that fashion that we did. But going to the locker room, there's no heads down. Like Coach Malzahn made sure like we all on one accord, and we walked around with our heads held high, because nobody really gave us a chance aside from our fan base, and our teammates and our coaches. So we really just had to to find joy, not joy, but we had to find the positives in that loss. And I think that was a big game that kind of told us like we can hang with anybody.
And people forget John Rice Plumlee had been injured, obviously, in that Boise State game, was coming back, played one play against Kansas, didn't work out. Obviously, there was a bye week. How healthy was he? I mean, you got to see him day in and day out. I'm sure you saw him in the training room. I think RJ Harvey said after the season that JRP was one of the toughest guys he'd ever seen. Yeah. How healthy was he at that point? How much was his potential, still sort of slow progress? How much that changed the offense and sort of his running ability maybe being neutralized because he didn't have as much of a leg as he wanted to?
Yeah, no, John wasn't like the healthiest, and that's just from like I don't know for certain like where his status was, but just it was clear, he wasn't really able to like cut. He wasn't really able to open up stride, and with any guy with a leg brace, like the leg braces are so heavy, they're so heavy, and so that only limits a player even more. But it always makes you wonder, like, dang, like what if he just what if he never got hit by that guy from Boise State? And what if he was healthy? Like, would it be a different game? Yeah, I'm sure. The offense would have continued to open up even more. I'm sure different plays, probably would have been called. I'm sure more plays would have been added. You never know. Like, I don't know. But what I can say for certain, no, he wasn't 100% himself. And I think that was pretty clear from, any fan and player standpoint.
Well, the best game of the year this year was against Oklahoma State at home. It's the space game. It's the cool environment with the rain, and everything about it was awesome. We blow them out. But at the same time, I'm saying to myself, man, this team is top maybe 15 at the time.
Yeah.
They're going to play in the championship game in a couple of weeks, and we're beating the hell out of them. Why couldn't we have done this to everybody all season?
Yeah. I think like I'm a big believer in like aura. Like, yeah, I think an aura is powerful. And I literally remember earlier that week, maybe like on a Monday or on a Tuesday, like I saw on Twitter that, UCF students and fans were talking about, oh, if we win this game, like we're gonna pull it on the goalposts, and like for some reason, like it just felt so real. Like it was something just about that whole week, even in practice, something about that whole week that just felt just like real. It felt powerful. It felt like everything I felt. It felt like everything I feel UCF embodies, if that makes sense. So like you go into that game, like we in the uniforms. I mean, like, they playing, some space music coming out the tunnel, like the fans, the crowd looks great. I mean, it's raining a little bit. Like it just felt like it wasn't even sunny outside. It just felt right. And I feel like a lot of times when upsets happen, like that's kind of the case where like everything just feels right for that opposing team. Everything just feels right for that underdog. And for us, everything felt perfect. It felt like everything, we were meant to be. John was hitting passes on the money, throwing dimes. You had RJ hitting gaps, all the offensive linemen, Thailand, Lukai, literally the whole gang. I mean, we're just getting pushed, and generating penetration and open up gaps. Receivers are catching everything. Vaughn was just outrunning guys. Kobe was just slicing the guys up. X started off the game with the beautiful post route catch. It's just, and I can just go on with guys that made meaningful plays, but there was just no way that energy and that aura was going to be damned and slowed down at all. That's why it was a blowout. Simply just because, like, you could feel it. It was real.
So it wasn't just because of the uniforms. Everybody makes a big deal about the uniforms. Like, how do you guys really get that excited about the uniforms? Once the game starts, I mean, you kind of forget about it, right?
No, I mean, that's a good point. Yes and no. So, like, we all know that we always sit on Twitter. I know I do. Like, UCF has literally never lost in a space game. So what makes you think that this is gonna be the year we lose? Like that's kind of like what you're thinking. It's like, heck no, like nah. But nah, in all seriousness though, I just think it's like, yeah, it just changes that. It boosts that. It just changes that, like that aura. It just changes that feeling. Like you look good, like, what I'm saying, you play good, you feel good, you play good. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I guess so, man. I guess that powder blue just does something. I guess I don't know what it is. But man,
I can tell you what made me think we were going to lose. We had lost like 5 in a row, and while Ali Gordon was running all over everybody else in the country, we didn't tackle anybody. I wasn't that confident, to be honest.
Yeah. We were though, man. We were, man. We just, I'm glad we went out there and just everybody was just flying. Everybody felt good. Like guys were dancing in pregame warm-ups. I mean, yeah, just felt right.
All right. I know I'm not good at math, Mark. So you keep me honest here, right? So you, after the 23 season, did you have one more year? Could you have had one more year of eligibility left?
Yes, sir.
So what made you kind of decide that, you felt like your college career was done and you want to kind of move on to the next step?
So for me, I just felt like, okay, I'm 23. I just turned 23, December 29. Turned 23 years old. I just felt like the window for me to make my dreams come true was just closing. I think the situation, the predicament, that I was in, while I was at UCF, I was like, like if I'm gonna try to make this happen, like I need to go now. Yeah, I don't want to risk, coming back another year and then something happens with my leg again. I don't want to risk like, oh, my shoulder popping out again, because when you have one surgery, like that specific, body part is not usually always the same again. So yeah, I think just for me, it just felt like, with my age, I'm 23, like I'm not gonna be playing. I'm not gonna play another college season and, enter the draft when I'm 24. Like I'm very honest with myself. I'm always brutally honest with myself. And just with people in general. But I think not many GMs and scouts, are going to want a back that's 24 years old coming into the draft, had a serious leg injury, had a shoulder injury, when you can just find, like a 22-year-old back that never had an injury, that maybe went for like a couple of 100 yards. It's just so many factors that played into my decision. But yeah, I just felt like I had a decent year, played a whole lot of special teams, and I just feel like the time was just right for me just to depart. But of course, there's no bad blood at all. I did think about, what if I like just, Gabriel more shot, but ultimately I was just I think right now is the right time.
Well, obviously, the draft was this past week, and give us an update on sort of what's next for you and sort of where you are from a team perspective. Any prospects, kind of what your next steps look like.
So as of right now, I haven't received like a phone call to attend any rookie mini camps, but I was blessed to be interviewed by the Ravens. I worked out for the Jaguars. I had an invite for a workout for the Bucks, but I wasn't able to attend. I was even in state, so I was blessed. And I was fortunate to have those opportunities for those three teams. So for me, like that meant the world to me, just to even be acknowledged, by an NFL team in some way, shape, and form in my eyes. And for me, it just felt like I got there. It felt like that childhood dream that I've always pursued, and and I desired. It felt like in some way, like it was fulfilled in a way. But of course, I'm going to continue to stay ready, stay sharp, stay healthy, and stay mentally, in a good place, just in case if any of those teams decide to, give MAR a shot. So, I'll always be ready. But nothing right now. I'm going to stay positive, going to stay prayed up. And I'm sure, everything will all make sense in the end.
Well, you're a good student, right? Yeah, I see you're an honor student every year. What did you study, and what do you, outside of football, what kind of job would you like to pursue?
Yeah. So I study sports business. A job I have thought about, coaching. I definitely thought about, pursuing a route as athletic director. I'm still strongly considering, going on a sports agency route. I feel like I possess, and I believe that I can be a person that can advocate for athletes and guide student athletes and just be a mentor, for the younger generation of football players, soccer players, basketball, just athletes in general. I feel like I can lead a wide range of people, and that's kind of where my head's at. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly that future job will be, but of course I'm setting myself up for the most success, making the right connections, meeting with certain people, taking risks, taking chances, and just trying to ensure that I have things in order.
All right, Mark. So we end every interview around here with rapid fire questions. Could be, music, movies, sports, food. You never know what you're going to get. So are you prepared for these rapid fire questions?
Gotcha.
All right. Here's my first one for you. I'm watching the NBA playoffs while we're talking. The Knicks are playing the 76ers. I noticed in this game, Joel Embiid, the star center for the 76ers, is wearing sneakers made by Skechers. He is the first athlete to wear Skechers NBA sneakers. You're already shaking your head. Can I get your opinion on an NBA player wearing Skechers on the court, please?
He just taking the money, man. I'm gonna keep it real. You just taking the money. I gotta see what they look like though. If
they don't look good.
They don't look good, no?
No.
Yeah. They probably threw him a bag. Yeah, they probably threw him a bag. I'm not going for it though, but I'm not going for it. Give me some Nikes. I'm good.
All right, I got like a 3-parter here. Of the coaches on the UCF coaching staff, one, who's the funniest coach?
I'm going Coach Harris. That dude is hilarious, man. So funny. Coach Harris, number one.
Okay. Who would you not want to arm wrestle? Or who could beat you in arm wrestling of the coaches?
Coach Hand. Coach Hand's Coach Hand's a strong guy. Coach Hand. Yeah, Coach Hand.
All right. And which one would you go to if you needed some advice?
Cam Martin. Yeah, I might be biased because he was my teammate at Auburn. That's kind of why I was pondering for a second, just trying to think of if there's anyone else. But if I'm biased, who cares? I'm going Cam Martin. Cam's the guy. Yeah, Cam's the guy. He's a real guy. He's a real dude, man.
Mark, if anybody's stepped foot on UCF campus or attended, they know that the parking services patrol is pretty robust at UCF. How many parking tickets did you rack up in your time at UCF?
At least 10.
Wow.
Like I kid you not, not now I'm mad. I kid you not. I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story, but I'm trying to think, should I say names or not?
Of course you should.
Nah, I ain't gonna say that.
Don't listen to me though, but I think you should.
So we had a guy. I'm gonna try to tell you the best I can. So we had a guy on our team. We had a guy on our team. He didn't have a car, right? He didn't have a car, but he had so many tickets, whether it's from parking services. I don't know who that guy was. Actually, I think about a lot. He had a car, and he probably racked up at least 15 parking tickets, maybe 10, at least 15 though. And at some point, I'm not sure when, but I think he had to take his car to the shop. So he was just kind of like walking around campus and stuff. And I think one of his friends were in town, so he used their car and he parked, by the facilities or wherever the heck he was. He parked in the facilities, and the parking people still found him. But the craziest thing is, like, it wasn't his car. So how did they know it was him?
Mm.
It's like, bro, like they have like a vendetta. It's like, how did you even know it's him? Like, he's driving some random person. You know what I mean? He's driving some random car. Y'all still found him. But yeah, man, the parking people are for real. Like I've had the pleasure of paying my parking fines, paying my little $10, $15, and I keep my face clean with them. But for some people, man, they have a vendetta. I give them props though. They're just doing their job at the end of the day. But
well, I'm gonna guess. Obviously, you're not telling us the name. I'm gonna guess if he's on the UCF football team, he's probably a big, giant person. Maybe that's how they know him, or is it Colton Boomer? Like it's somewhere in between there.
No. He's like regular, average size. Just
man. Okay, well,
I will say he's a hell of a player though. But just I don't know. Funny guy. Probably the funniest teammate I ever had. Seriously.
All right, who's the funniest teammate you ever had?
Dang, man. I'm gonna keep that close to my chest.
It's 2024. There's cameras everywhere. You guys walk around with shirts that have your names on them. So maybe it wasn't that hard to figure out.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't, or he just had that many tickets. I don't know. It's something, but if I had to guess, he probably had like 50. If I had to guess, I have no idea, man. Yeah, I might call him after this and ask him about it.
Yeah, let us know. I'm dying to know what the number is. I won't tell him his name, but I'm dying to know the number.
Yeah, man. I'll find out.
All right, what's your favorite dessert?
Cheesecake.
Ooh, nice.
Cheesecake for sure. I'm a cheesecake guy. It's just, you can't go wrong with it. Some people don't like it, but I think it's a classic.
So you go to Cheesecake Factory, you have all the different types?
No.
Original one. Basic cheesecake.
Yeah, I just get like a class. And actually, not. I might get some strawberries on it, but for the most part, Have you guys ever been to? This gonna sound crazy, but have you ever been to Pollo Tropical or no?
Pollo Tropical, absolutely, yeah.
So like their cheesecake, I don't know if they still have it, but their cheesecake, try it. It's insane. But just keep it simple, man. Cheesecake Factory, nah. They do too much, man. They got graham crackers on it, on top of it.
Too much.
Supposed to be on the bottom. Like, I don't know. It's too much for me.
Flip that thing upside down. That's all.
we got an OG. I never thought I'd get the cheesecake at Pollo Tropical. All right, so I recognize that I am a 40-year-old white man asking you this question, Mark. But Drake and Kendrick Lamar have a bit of a rap beef going on. Kendrick dropped his new track today. Do you have a side here? If you had to pick sides between Drake and Kendrick, who you rolling with?
Well, you said so. I saw him trending on Twitter, but I didn't see.
Yeah, he dropped his new track. It's not bad, Mark. It's not bad. I'm old school. Like I'm Biggie Pac, like Ether from Nas, like Hit 'Em Up by Tupac. Those are diss tracks. It's not bad though. Yeah. I'll give him that. I'm admittedly more of a Drake guy personally, but I got to give it to Kendrick. It was a decent clap.
Really. I feel like it's taken Kendrick Lamar 2.5 weeks to come up with song. How long was the song? If you don't mind me asking.
It's 6 minutes. It's like 6 minutes long.
Oh, 6 minutes.
He been writing for a couple of weeks, Mark. Yeah, he had pen to pad for a while.
I don't know if that's a couple of weeks of writing. He's probably writing for a year. For the right time. Oh, dang. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, the table's turned. Hold up. I'm gonna go Drake still.
Okay.
Because like I know Drake's gonna come back with something. I think he's probably the pettiest of the petty. So I'll give Drake a couple of days and he'll have something. Probably making fun of Kendrick Lamar shoe size or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a Drake guy though. I've always been a Drake guy.
All right, so you grew up in West Palm, Wellington area.
Yes,
are you a Dolphin fan growing up, or are you a fan of something else, or are you just kind of like individual players?
Yes, no, I'm a 49ers fan, but like I'm from the crib, so like I've always liked the Dolphins, but just growing up it was hard, man, being a Dolphins fan, like just the drought that they went on. Then we got Jarvis Landry, and he just sparked that like excitement within just in the state of Florida in general. But at the same time, I'm like a player guy, like I'm a big Amari Cooper fan, but like I'm not a Browns fan though, But 49ers guy here. Just answer the question. I'm 49ers guy.
Well, not thinking about it, you've never seen the Dolphins win a playoff game in your life, right? They haven't won one since 2000.
Yeah, that's what I don't know what it looks like at the moment.
It's fair. No, it's fair.
But I think Mike McDaniel's the right coach though, so we'll get that fixed.
Well, I mentioned I lived in West Boynton for a while, so I know Wellington pretty well. Wellington is I think it's the equestrian capital of the world. I think the Equestrian Hall of Fame is in Wellington, if I remember correctly. Are you a horse rider? Have you ridden a bunch of horses in your life? Is that something you do?
No. I've been on a horse once in my life, but I've been around them plenty of times. Like I've walked them before and stuff, but no, I've just never really found like the enjoyment, and I think it might be a little too uncomfortable for me to ride a horse.
I'm with you,
yeah. But it's definitely cool, just sometimes you see them when you walk into school, in elementary school. They're literally everywhere. Like it can be like a duplex, and man, they got like a barn in the back with like 3 horses in it.
Yeah.
Dang.
They had a lot of polo matches. Have you ever been to a polo match? I've never seen one in person, but I remember driving past a lot of polo fields back there.
Yeah, so I have. I've been to 2 of them. I went once when both of them I was in elementary school. Once when I was in 2nd grade, and then the other time I was in 5th. And at the time, one of my closest friends, his dad was like a professional polo player. He might have been a Hall of Famer, I think. I'm not sure, but.
Hall of Fame, nice.
Yeah, so our school would just go out there for like not a field day, but for like a field trip, and we just like watch. His dad would like talk out there and stuff, bring us on the field. But they're unique. Like I don't know how to explain it. They're unique, but it is interesting once you kind of get the gist of everything. It's quite interesting.
All right, what's your favorite football movie of all time?
I think the cliche answer is remember the Titans,
Mm.
but I might. It's remember the Titans, but I'm gonna kind of go a different direction for once. I'm gonna say Greater. You guys have seen that movie before?
Yeah.
Greater. Yeah, just a story. It's, yeah, it hits different, man. It's a good one. It's a beautiful movie.
That's a new one, obviously. Last couple of years, yeah. I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, watch it.
Yeah.
It's insane. Great story.
Yeah. All right, Mark, you've been really generous with your time, so we'll get you out of here with this question. This is probably the hardest one maybe we'll ever ask you, but can you put into words for us what your time at UCF meant to you? What does it mean to you to be a Knight and the time you spent in Orlando as a part of Knight Nation?
I would say confidently, like, UCF's honestly saved. Yeah, I think UCF honestly saved me. I think, yeah, like just coming back home, to the state of Florida, and just playing for a fan base that honestly just literally accepts you, and like I've never felt so much support in my life. There's some games, after the game, I go home and I'm just kind of feeling low and just asking myself what am I doing, why, and it's at times it meant the world, man, just seeing fans DMing nice messages, encouraging messages, man. It meant the world just scoring that touchdown and literally just hearing my name being called and hearing the fans just cheer for me, and dang, man, it literally meant the world for me. I'll forever be a Knight to the day I die. But it's been better than I could have ever imagined, quite honestly. From whether it's with the fans, whether it's with my teammates, whether it was with the coach, even just the students, it's been awesome. It's literally been a dream for me. It's felt like home for me to the core. Walking to class and I see a kid I went to school with in first grade. And it's literally been everything that I could have ever wanted in a school, and I would highly advise UCF to literally any prospect, whether you're a 0-star, whether you're a 5-star, I would literally highly advise Central Florida, just because it truly is every single thing that every college that is in the United States of America possesses. Honestly, probably more. But for me, I'm forever grateful, forever appreciative of every single person, thing that is associated with this university. It is sad that my time is up, but I felt I feel like it was the perfect timing, and yeah, I'm gonna forever have memories that I'm gonna cherish for the rest of my life. But yeah.
Well, I can probably tell you on behalf of Knight Nation, we appreciate you for the player you are on the field, the person you are off the field, the way you represented UCF, and a lot of people are going to continue to root for you as you chase your dreams and try to get to that next level. So I know you'll have a ton of fans to keeping up with you and checking in on you too. So we appreciate you taking some time. Hopefully we'll catch you in the bounce house this season. You got any plans to go to any games this upcoming season?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Right.
I know you'll be playing on Sunday, but maybe in your bye week you can swing in and catch a game.
Yeah, that's the plan. Right now with this podcast, and we have some games on our chart that we plan on that they plan on letting me host. So
okay,
I'll be out there probably doing some fan stuff, and it should be fun.
Well, hold up. What's the plug your podcast? What are you working on? Plug it so people can find it, and where can they keep in touch with it?
Yes, sir. It's called Flow Factory Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's my brother and I, and two of our founders.
Okay.
Yeah, we went on it right now, and it's honestly it's doing really well. It's exciting. We gotta get, I gotta find a way to get some of my teammates, on, just to represent UCF. Yeah, it's relatively new, but we're still working on it. Still a work in progress.
Awesome. We appreciate you for your time at UCF, everything you've done for Knight Nation, and obviously we'll keep you in our thoughts as you move forward and chase your dreams. But we appreciate you hopping on the show, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for the time. I really do appreciate you guys.